Whoa, Tarja Turunen just announced Frisson Noir, the heaviest chapter of her career. But today we're not summarizing the press release. We're turning this into a furnace-hot YouTube commentary that feels entirely original. A creator thinking aloud, unpacking the ideas, poking at the implications, and throwing in some bold takes you won't hear in a standard album review. From my perspective, the core tension here is Tarja's insistence on merging cinematic orchestration with uncompromising metal, and how that shapes identity in modern heavy music. Personally, I think that Collision isn't just a sound choice. It's a statement about how genre boundaries are dissolving, and how a solo artist can reframe a career around a single, audacious vision. The hook that sticks. A vocalist with a 3.5 octave range navigating between intimate piano moments, colossal choirs, and guitar-forward bursts. What this really suggests is that Tarja isn't chasing trends. She's reclaiming a sense of artistic power by owning both grandeur and grit in one arc. In my opinion, that duality is what makes Frisson Noir worth watching as a cultural moment, not just a new album. First big idea. The claim of the heaviest Tarja record yet. What makes this interesting is not the label itself, but what it signals about risk-taking at mid to late career stages. If you take a step back and think about it, labeling a heavier work builds a bridge between her symphonic roots and a broader metal audience that craves intensity. A detail I find fascinating is how production choices, Neil Avern's mix, the presence of guests from Cradle of Filth to Apocalyptica, signal a deliberate push toward a modern, aggressive texture while preserving Tarja's signature melodic core. What many people don't realize is that heaviest isn't just about louder guitars. It's about density, dynamic range, and how orchestral elements coexist with ferocious rhythm sections. Second idea, the thematic tapestry. The album promises explorations of fear, resilience, identity, and independence, threaded through cinematic arrangements. What this matters for, in my view, is the way concept albums still function as social mirrors. They invite listeners to map their own struggles onto Tarja's narrative. From my vantage, the interplay between darkness and light isn't just aesthetic. It's a commentary on how people navigate uncertainty in a chaotic world. A detail I find fascinating is the emphasis on transformation and belonging, themes that resonate beyond metal and into broader conversations about self-authorship in an era of noise and fragmentation. Third idea, the collaborations and production ecosystem. Featuring Dani Filth, Apocalyptica, Marko Hietala, and Chad Smith, with a mix by a Grammy-winning engineer, the project foregrounds a networked metal cosmopolitanism. What makes this really interesting is how cross-fertilization can dilute hard boundaries and create a more inclusive metal narrative. In my opinion, this collaboration strategy is a blueprint for longevity. It expands audience reach while keeping Tarja's artistic voice front and center. A detail I find compelling is how these guests aren't just name-dropping. They tap into different textures, dark theatricality, extreme precision, groove, and even a rock-funk energy from Chad Smith that push Tarja to explore beyond what she's done before. Deeper insight. The Le Tour plan and format choices. The tour launching in Berlin, with a set list likely designed to blend new material with beloved anthems, is telling about how she intends to balance novelty with loyalty to fans. What this raises a deeper question about is how live performance can amplify the cinematic dimension of an album. When you've got orchestras and choirs recorded for the studio experience, touring with them live becomes a different kind of spectacle, one that can redefine audience expectations for metal concerts. A detail I find fascinating is Tarja's willingness to stage an emotionally charged journey on stage, not just in the studio, which could set a standard for future metal performances. What this really suggests is a broader trend: veteran artists leveraging orchestration-rich metal to stay commercially viable while deepening artistic credibility. In my opinion, Frisson Noir embodies a shift toward high-concept metal that treats albums as immersive worlds rather than collections of tracks. This is the kind of project that invites conversations about identity formation in a post-genre era, where artists aren't bound by a single sound but by a cohesive existential statement. Closing thought. If you're a listener who loves metal but also craves cinematic mood and emotional nuance, Tarja's Frisson Noir might be the exact bridge you didn't know you needed. It invites you to ask what you're willing to tolerate in pursuit of a more honest artistic experience. What do you think happens when metal and cinema become the same emotional engine? Do collaborations like this signal the future of heavy music, or is it a fragile experiment that only a few fans will fully embrace? Let me know in the comments. Are you riding this wave with Tarja, or do you prefer the sword and shield approach of traditional metal? Either way, the conversation around Frisson Noir is exactly the kind of cultural moment I want to dissect in real time with you.